What's going on, guys? It's Storytime is a crime series, Shane Dryer. I do have one more story that I want to tell before, and honestly, I said this a million times, but this time I mean it. I've thought about it for like months now. I have no more stories except the one I'm about to tell, and it's actually pretty hilarious. In a video, it's on my YouTube channel. If you scroll down, it says "cool knife and scissor cool knife and scissor matchup." Cool knife and scissor matchup is the title of the video. Sorry, I mess up words sometimes. I'm not going to release this story time for probably a month or two until this guardianship stuff gets cleared out, because I don't want to be making no more stories because, you know, like the lawyer said, everything's in the past, you know, so they can't use it. But obviously if I release this now or before the guardianship gets transferred to the person who's, you know, gonna do a better job than me, and, you know, not a better job because I've been doing a great job actually, but who's not going to have any possibility of being labeled incompetent, you know, because I do stutter and I have mental problems. I admit that, but I'm not going to post this until after everything's settled because, you know, I don't want this to be used against me. But this is about Dan Toporek. I'm going to say his name. I actually was just talking to one of my friends who was there when this happened, and we were laughing about it, and I was like, man, I should tell this story. So back when I was homeless, and I have another video, it's called 6 in 1, the events of this past month. It was about my stint of homelessness for about a month. I was homeless for about 2 weeks. Actually, not a month. I was homeless for 2 weeks. And I was living in a cabin in the woods, as some of you know. And if you listen to that video, you'll know that. And I used to hang out with my friends because I went to this place in the first place because my friends built it, and it was right next to their trailer park. So they were like giving me food and smoking me up. I mean, granted, I gave them like my belongings, like my Xbox and my guitars, in trade for food and weed and shit. But, you know, they smoked me up way more. They smoked me up way more than I paid them. So, you know, I'm grateful for them, and they're always gonna be my friends. But anyways, I was hanging out with them and a bunch of their friends, and this dude Dan has talked shit about all of us, called us faggots, pussies, queers, fucking assholes, you name it. Any name in the book, this guy's done it. This guy has made a threat to Tops. He literally posted on his Facebook after that Tops shooting in Buffalo where 10 people were killed, and he was like, who's gonna shoot up Tops now? Let's go. Or something along those lines. Like, he was like, who wants to shoot up Tops now? Let's go. He posted that on Facebook, and he actually had to go to court for that. But he was, you know, deemed like too fucking stupid, you know, to be charged. So they let him go with probation and shit. But he's done that. He's threatened to rape one of our friend's nephews. He's threatened to rape the same friend's sister, which is the mother of the nephew. He's made so many like inappropriate, disgusting, and threatening comments. But this day in particular, it was me, 3 guys, and 3 girls. The 3 girls were acquaintances / friends of the one guy that was there, and then the 2 other guys were my friends. So it was a total of like 7 people. And then Dan shows up later. Now, before we walked to the one dude's house who had the girls with him, you know, we all introduced ourselves because, you know, we weren't really that well known to this guy, but he kind of knew the other 2, but he didn't know me. So I introduced myself. I said, hey, I'm Shane. He shook my hand. Everything was good. And then Dan went up to him and shook his hand and said, hi, my name is Dan. And they got to talking, all right? Let's just say they got to talking. And it turns out, I found out later after what I'm about to tell you, that Dan had threatened this dude, threatened to bomb his house. You know, and this dude, literally after about a minute of talking to Dan, out of nowhere, and it wasn't out of nowhere because he deserved it, because they ended up, you know, finding out that it was Dan, you know, after talking to him. But this dude punches Dan in the face. Like, I thought like he was just gonna get mad and walk away because it was getting tense. Like, it was getting a little tense. I didn't think anybody was gonna get punched, but like literally like in the middle of like a mildly tense situation, he just revved it up to 1,000 and just socked him right in the jaw out of nowhere. And this dude, he whimpers, starts sniffling, and like puts his hands in his pockets and walks away and looks at all of us as he's walking away. Like he was about to cry. Dude's a fucking bitch ass, you know, fucking piece of shit. But dude, he's made so many threats and so much disgusting, like, nasty behavior. And this is the same dude. Now, I've taken psychedelics. I love psychedelics. I think they open your mind. But I think if you take them too much or take too many in one sitting, which in Dan's case he did, Dan took a sheet of acid, a sheet, which is like 50 to 100 hits in one shot. He had to go to the hospital. So maybe it's not his fault, but I mean, if you think about it, that's what psychedelics do, is they bring out the true you. So he had to have been like that before he even took the acid. He was just able to hide it better because he hadn't taken it yet. But yeah, I'm going to wrap this story up at 6 minutes, but this dude, oh my God, so shot, bro, so shot. I'm going to upload it real quick, actually, and download it to my other phone, because the phone I'm recording on doesn't have much storage, but I will post this when all the guardianship stuff clears and stuff, so, yeah. It's just a interesting story when I was homeless. There was another one I forgot to mention in that 6-in-1. So technically that video should have been 7-in-1, but it wasn't. So yeah. But peace and love. You know the drill. Peace and love. Subscribe if you're new. Like the video. It's not gonna get many likes, but I don't care. I'm not about the clout. I'm about spreading my awareness and my stories and my crazy adventures. So peace and love.
Okay, what is going on, guys? The story times of crimes here are Shane Dryer. So I'm not sure if this is going to be in either 8 or a 9-in-1, but this is going to be a mashed up story time. So I keep remembering these story times, and I actually only remembered one story time, but I have a second story time that happened recently. It was just fucking funny, and for the sake of my friends, I will not mention any names, but that'll be the second story. But the first story is about the time that I almost burned my mom's house down with us in the house. So when I was younger, I used to love playing with matches. I've always had a fascination with fire, but unfortunately I will never, unless it's like to light a cigarette or a bowl of weed, I will never touch a lighter otherwise, or a gas can, never a gas can, but unless it's like, to fill up a snowblower or a weed whacker. But you get what I'm saying. I'm going to be responsible with fire from here on out. But anyways, when I was younger, I used to have a fascination with matches. Oh, actually, I'll add another story. I remembered another story from when I was younger. So this will probably be a 9 or a 10-in-1 story time video. It's going to be the ultimate finale video. But anyways, to get this story on, I had lit a match when I was younger, and I was naive and stupid. Kind of still am, but but anyways, I lit this match and I blew it out. But what I didn't know was that when there's smoke still coming off of a match when I was that young, that it still like has a capability of setting things on fire. So unbeknownst to me, I threw it in the garbage can and closed the door, because my mom's garbage can was underneath the sink, so I closed the door. I don't even know how this fire got started, without that much oxygen, but some of it had to be getting in there. But about 5 minutes goes by, and my mom goes, "Shane, come in here, it smells like something's burning." And I go, "What?" And I thought about the match. I was like, oh, fuck. So I opened the cupboard door underneath the sink, and there was an inferno under there. And I stupidly, because again I was young, but I managed to get it out. But you should almost, unless it's like, well, actually no, if it's not a grease fire or there's some other type of fire, but as long as it's like a paper fire or whatever, which in that case there was paper in the garbage, then you can extinguish it with water. But I got the fire out. I grabbed luckily there was a pot that you boil water in the sink, and I filled it with water and extinguished the fire. But if my mom hadn't said nothing, my mom's house would have burned down. So that's that story. The second story is about the time when I was younger, and I still am obviously, but when I was younger, I was a fucking savage, bro. I would dial 911, and they would answer for about 10 seconds, and I would either make fart noises or say some stupid shit and hang up. Well, I did this probably like 10 times, and one day I did it and hung up. Didn't think anything of it, and next thing you know, the cops show up to my house. And I'm like, oh, fuck. And they said, basically, we can take you down to the station right now. If you ever do this again, we will be taking you down to the station. And guess what? This is like a 1-minute story time, but guess what? I never, ever, ever prank called the police again. The only time I called the police after that was when my mom had a stroke, and I called the ambulance and saved her life. But that was back in 2009. But I used to prank call the cops back in like 07 and 08 off my mom's fucking landline phone. I mean, that's fucked up. But the last story I was gonna include. You know what? I'll include this other story. So this will be like a huge story time finale. My mom, when I was living at my aunt's, this was in like 2018 or 19, and back when Linda was still working for my mom and everything was okay with Linda. Um, I took my mom out to eat in my SUV when I still had my SUV, and I brought her back. And unbeknownst to me, my mother was planning to put a tracker on my car, and this is how it went down. And I found out later by, asking people, and I eventually asked Linda as well. So my mom, when I pulled into her driveway, purposefully left her purse in my car. And so she goes in the house, and then she comes back out with Linda. And I saw my mom's purse on the ground. So I was like, okay, she's just coming out to get her purse. But I was a little confused as to why Linda was there. So I kept my senses sharp, let's just say. And my mom, I literally like, so Linda comes up to my this is how sneaky Linda and my mom were. And eventually Linda turned on my mom and tried to steal her money, but you know about that story if you watch all the videos on my channel. But anyways, I kept my eyes straight forward, like so I could see the passenger door and my door, because here's the thing, Linda came up to my SUV to distract me while my mom placed a tracker on my car. And it didn't work. I kept my eyes forward, and my mom, it was a magnetic tracker, so I heard the clink anyway. So even if I wasn't looking, I would have heard it. I heard the clink on my car, and then as soon as that happened, I watched, and I actually like kept my eyes forward so I could see out of the side of my eyes my mom putting the tracker on my car anyways, and I watched her as she did it. She put it on there, it made a clink noise, and then as she simultaneously grabbed her purse, and then her and Linda walked away, and like I can't believe they didn't think that I was gonna know anything, but I knew. And I actually was going over to my sister's house, my biological sister. Now my mom is my adoptive mom, but I have biological family as well, and I wanted to visit them. So, and my mom didn't want me to visit them, so I had told her that I was going to see a girl because I had just flown in from Florida the week before. I told her I was going to see a girl I had met at the airport, which was a total lie. I was just going to see my sister. But if I told her I was seeing my biological sister, she would not let me go. But she was kind of reluctant to let me see a girl anyways. So anyways, I start driving to my sister's house. And on my way to my sister's house, there's the highway. So I pulled onto the highway and pulled off, get this, at a truck stop. Now, I got this idea because my mom had put a tracker on my dad's car, my adoptive dad's car, my mom's boyfriend's car, because my mom didn't want me or my dad seeing each other. So I kind of knew that this stuff was going on, and my Aunt Rebecca basically told me that if it ever happened, to put it on a semi, like a tractor trailer, and I thought about it, and I was like, you know what, that's the move. So I put the tracker, the magnetic tracker, I pulled over in the rest stop, parked my car, shut it off, got out, went on the passenger side, and went under my car with my phone's flashlight and found the tracker, pulled it off. I saw a semi parked there, and I put it on the semi. And I drove away, went to my sister's house, and in the morning, right as I was going to leave my sister's house, I shit you not, like literally probably about a half hour before I was due to leave her house, my phone starts blowing up, and I and I answer it, and my mom literally says this, and I quote, "Why are you in Kansas?" And I was like, "What do you mean?" She's like, "Why are you in the state of Kansas?" And I died laughing, and she didn't find it funny. And I told her, just don't worry about it, I'll be home. She says, well, you're not going to be home for another day. I said, don't worry, I'll be home. So I left my sister's house. I got home within like the hour. And I explained to my mom that I knew she put a tracker on my car. And you know what? What's weird is we had a laugh about it afterwards, which is wholesome, but I love my mom, and she's in the hospital right now, and I'm visiting her. I'm actually flying back down to Florida. I dealt with the banks this past week, but my dad was gone, and that's where this next story is going to come. And my dad was gone, and this next story is going to be a long one, but we had a laugh about it. Anyways, this next story is about a mushroom trip I had with my friends while my dad was gone. So this past week, end of January 2024, beginning of February 2024, I my dad literally left on a Tuesday. Today is Saturday. He left this past Tuesday. And I was supposed to go to the banks that day anyway, so my dad left on Tuesday at about 1 p.m. for the airport. And he called me when he got to the airport, and he called me again around 5 o'clock when he landed in Florida and got his car and got to the hotel. And I told him I was just taking care of some business and was coming back to Lockport, which is an hour drive from West Seneca, where his house is. Unbeknownst to him, I picked up one of my friends, his sister, and two of his other friends. So there was 5 of us, I believe. Yep, 5 of us in the car. And at about 7 o'clock, I left my phone in the car. We went and bought beer. We went to the reservation and we bought an eighth of mushrooms, which actually the guy gave us a deal because his sister went in, my friend's sister went in, and they cut us a deal and gave us 4.5 grams, which is a gram over an eighth, for $30, which is lucky. And we also bought 2 mushroom chocolate bars for $30, so that was $60. And my dad actually left me with $120, and I managed to make everything work. This is gonna be a long story. But anyways, we go back to my friend and his sister's grandmother's house with these 2 other kids. And we just started drinking. We ate the mushrooms. We, throughout that night, I didn't look at my phone until 3 in the morning. We took the mushrooms at about 7:30 p.m. And unbeknownst to me, because I left my phone in the car, my dad was frantically calling me because above my dad's apartment, his niece lives above us, and he was calling her, asking her if his car was in the driveway, and she said no. So, and he called her around 10 o'clock, and then again at 3 in the morning, because when I went to check my phone at about 3:30, I had gotten another missed call. My dad had called me from the span of 7:30 to 3 in the morning. My dad called me probably 8 times, and he sent me this text, and I quote, "It doesn't matter what time you get this message, you need to call me." But anyways, me and my friend's sister, eventually we dropped the 2 kids off because they couldn't handle us, because my friend's sister drank the most alcohol and ate the mushrooms out of all of us, and she was throwing up and getting sick, and the 2 kids were getting uncomfortable, so I took them home while tripping and drunk, which is fucked up. And then I made it back with my friend while his sister was still at the grandma's. And we made it back to his grandma's, and it was just me, him, and his sister. And so we decided to walk to Tops Friendly Markets, which was right down the road from his sister's house. And on the way there, everything was fine. We actually went into Tops and bought some food, and I'll tell you guys, I was at my peak in Tops. I was absolutely tripping balls. And then we left Tops, and on the way home, to get back to the trailer park where his sister and him live, there's a road you have to cross, and it's 2 lanes of traffic going both ways, so you have to cross a total of 4 lanes of traffic. And his sister fucking wipes out. I mean, falls, because she was trash, bro. She was tripping and drunk. She wipes out in the middle of the road. I had to help. I had to pick her up. And then we get back to his grandma's trailer, and she was just fucked up, and his grandma was not having it. And we went for another walk to clear our heads because we were tripping that hard and fucked up, drunk and shit. And his sister, and this is why I'm not mentioning any names to begin with anyways. I don't mention names on this channel unless the statute of limitations is gone on things. But I'm not mentioning their names because of this incident right here. His sister fucking pissed her pants, bro. And while we were walking, and she was laughing the whole time. It was just fucking nuts. But we went back. It was about 2 in the morning when we got back to the trailer. And then actually one of the kids that we dropped off had left a bottle of Captain Morgan spiced rum. It tastes like fucking Fireball. It's disgusting. but I finished the rest of the bottle because his sister had drank most of it. And by that point, I was fucking trashed. And that's when I finally decided to check my phone. And I saw that I had 8 missed calls from my dad, and my mom's friends who my dad is associated with were calling me. Everybody was worried about me. So I used my head and I decided to play it off. I was like, you know what? I'm going to act like I was sleeping and I'll make up some lie in the morning. So I went back to my dad's house. I got there about 6 in the morning and I hadn't slept all night, so I passed out. I woke up around 9 o'clock, and you know that feeling of dread when your parents are pissed at you and you got to call them or see them? It's the worst, but I was like, you know what? I might as well get it done now. I was going to wait till 12 in the afternoon, but I figured that'd be a little suspicious. So I called him, and I'm good at making up shit on the spot. So I told him that because my mom's house is in West Seneca and the banks are in West Seneca, I told him I had brought the keys to my mom's house because we got the locks changed. So we have, and you'll see a video on my channel upload after this. Yeah, we got the locks changed on my mom's houses in New York. And I told him that I had spent the night there and had fallen asleep. And I apologized to him that I didn't answer his calls. I told him I turned my ringer off and I wanted to sleep. And he believed it. So these same friends a couple days later asked me to hang out. So I told them I was going back to West Seneca to deal with the banks. And by this point, I had like $30. And I had to spend it all on gas and food. So by the time I get to West Seneca, the second time around, I had no money. But we picked up my friend and his sister again. And this day we went out to the reservation. She put gas in my tank, bought me cigarettes, which was really nice. And then we got her weed and took her back to her grandma's house where she lived, or lives currently. And then, I shit you not, I ended up picking up my friend, his sister. After I dropped his sister off, I picked up another acquaintance of ours at his job at McDonald's. And then we ended up getting another 2 people. The first person we got was really chill. He put even more gas in my tank. And I had $5 left over. Now, mind you, I had to do something with the banks to make sure that I wasn't caught, red-handed. So you guys are gonna laugh at this. But I brought these friends over to my mom's house. They all smoked pot. I actually am still sober. I've only drank and taken mushrooms so far, so there is no proof in my urine or hair that I've gotten fucked up. I didn't smoke any weed, but everybody else did. I actually kept it straight, and I'm still sober technically. And we had a blast. I picked up this one kid, brought him out to the reservation again, which, mind you, from my friend's house, it's about a 40-minute drive. So I was back and forth, but I got gas, and by the end of the night, we picked up another kid, went back to my mom's house, and then it was 4 of us at that time. It was 4 people in the car. Every single time there were people in the car. One person would get dropped off, another person would get picked up. And except for the first time when it was just me, my friend, and his sister again. But then we dropped the sister off, got one of our other friends, and then we picked up, and that other friend that we got stayed with us for the rest of the night. And then there were 2 people that stayed, that also got picked up throughout the rest of the night. So it was a total of 4 people in the car after his sister had left. So at about like 12:30 at night, they all smoked the rest of their weed, and they were like, all right, fuck it, let's go home. So I took them all home, and then I got back to my mom's house Thursday night at 1 or actually technically it was Friday morning at 1 in the morning, and I fucking made the mac and cheese I took from my dad's house and crashed. And actually what's funny is to get out to West Seneca that day originally, I went into my dad's coin collection and returned his coins for $15. At Walmart, there's a coin master, I think it's called. I returned all his coins. But I'm gonna end these fucking 3 or 4 stories at 20 minutes. But what's funny is I had $5 left over after everything was said and done, so I needed a little more money. So I went through my mom's house. At first, I was gonna go to a pawn shop, but I didn't. I found copper, fucking like sheets of copper, like the real thin copper, but it was real copper. I found out later. I went to a fucking scrapyard at like 9:30 in the morning the next day, Friday. And I ended up getting $5 fucking for it. So I had $10. So I ended up going to Office Depot, loading $5 onto a card, And I ended up being able to print off everything, and I actually set up the guardianship account on Friday. And I'm going flying to Florida this Sunday, and then when I get back this next Friday, I'm going back to the other banks, and I'm going to be putting all this shit back into, because I have all the paperwork I need now because I printed it out. And at the end, I had $4 left for gas. I put the $4 in my tank and was able to make it back to Lockport and not arouse suspicion, bro. So in the end, I got fucked up 2 nights in a row and got away with it. That's fucking crazy. I'm actually going to check the driveway when I end this video, because I don't know if my dad's niece is still here or not, because we were just at his brother-in-law's house, which is the father of my dad's niece, and he said she was in, I think it's called Gowanda or something like that, and I don't think she's here right now, so she didn't hear me tell this whole fucking story, so that's great. But yeah, I'm gonna end this at 20 minutes. I love all you guys. I love the friends I hung out with. You guys know who you are. I'll put this video up in a year when the guardianship is over and Linda has been arrested, because the detective said he wasn't going to close the case for a year. But when this video goes up, it's probably going to be like 40-50 minutes long. But yeah, I love you guys very, very much, and peace. Oh, and I actually will be adding this story to the beginning of the 4 stories I already told. So it's going to be a total of 5 stories. This is going to be a 5 in 1. But let me just get something from the vending machine real quick at the hotel I'm at. Let me see what we got. What do we got? Reese's Pieces, Kit Kats, Twinks. Or not Twinks, Twinks. Twix. Not Twinks. Okay, let's see. I think I'm going to get some Reese's Pieces. Let's do C5. Yeah, how much is that going to be? Can you tell me? Oh, somebody left a change in here. Hear that? Oh, somebody left 2 quarters in here. Oh, look at my lucky day. Okay, let's try it again. Let's see how much it's going to be. C5. $1. Yo, I actually have enough change in dollars to get 2 snacks. I'm going to get 2 Reese's Pieces then. Ready? Here we go. Let's get the nickel in there. Such an idiot. A dime. Another dime. And then there should be 1 more quarter in my pocket. Hold on. Oh my god, there is another quarter. Let's go. It's C5, right? Yeah. C5. Let's go. And then I'll just get 1 more. What should I get? Yeah, Reese's Pieces are the best. I'll just finish off this deal here. Okay, so I guess we'll put it in this way because it's kind of folded up on the other end. Oh, it took it too. C5. Well, what should I get? Maybe I'll get a Kit Kat. Yes, let's switch it up. C1. Oh, that's $2. So let me get Reese's Pieces then. So C5. Let's go. I'm sorry, this took 2 minutes almost. But I got 2 bags of Reese's Pieces with some change and $1. Let's go. I'll eat these later when my dad falls asleep because he doesn't know I have that money. But yeah, so anyway, this is gonna start the videos story times off. So this will be the first story time, I guess. And it's 3 separate videos I'm pasting together. This video and another video are 2 separate story times, and then the third video is going to be all 3 of the remaining story times. But basically, I just want to tell a quick story about my time. And I cannot believe I forgot to tell this one. This happened back in, I remember it's 2017. And if you scroll all the way back to the very beginning of my channel, you can actually see a video I took at this concert. And I believe it was 2017 that I posted it. Yeah, it was 2017. Guns N' Roses played live in Buffalo, New York. And I had, been smoking a lot of weed at the time, as you know. I basically smoked weed my whole life except for these past 2 months. The 2 years I was in rehab and 1 year in high school, and obviously the 8 years before I started smoking weed. So that's So probably about half my life I've been smoking weed, let's just say. And I had brought some weed with me, and I rolled a joint, and then my mom actually surprised me with the tickets the day of the concert. She said she got 2 tickets, and I was like, all right, word. So this is where it gets real juicy. So, well, not juicy, because you know what I mean. Like, it gets interesting. And before I actually go into the story, as I'm recording this video right now, I am down in Florida, and not even a mile down the road, my mom is in the hospital. Obviously, it's late at night, so I'm not going to be with my mom, all night. I have to sleep in a bed, and she's in the ICU, which has like metal folding chairs. I can't sleep in a metal folding chair. I have to come back to my room. But anyways, my mom has a chance of dying. That Linda Kite, and I'll be putting this video up when everything's done. If my mom passes and when she passes, whatever. Which I don't want her to die, but it's not looking good right now, and I have to accept it. You know what I mean? It's gonna break me when she does die, but you know what I mean. She's not in good shape. She can't breathe on her own. She's on a ventilator. She was able to open her eyes today after 3 days of us visiting her, and she acknowledged us. She looked so uncomfortable. She's got like 7 IVs in her body, like needles, and she's got a ventilator down her throat. It's really bad. I hate hospitals, but at the same time, they save people's lives, and they saved my mom's life. Her heart actually stopped beating for 5 minutes on probably like 4 days ago, and that's why we decided to fly down, because the hospital gave us a call. But yeah, and she wasn't actually in the hospital before. I'm sure this is gonna be a long video, but she wasn't actually in the hospital before. She was in a fucking rehab that Linda Kite put her in, and we were working to get her out, but we couldn't access the funds because the lawyers were taking a long time, and they also suggested we leave mom down in Florida because of the legality of the jurisdiction. But it ended up not working in my mom's favor. But she's still here, she's still alive, and she might pull out of it. Cross your fingers. The last thing I'll update about my mom, but they're taking the ventilator out tomorrow to see if she can breathe on her own. If she passes, then they might move her out and let us take her home. If she doesn't, though, she might have to be put in hospice, which is not good. But anyways, let me get into the story, and that's why I'm telling the story today. I was reminded of it because of my mom's situation. So this is the story about the time I smoked a joint with my mom. So as I said, she surprised me with the tickets that day. I had brought weed. It was on a weekend that I came back from my aunt's house, as I told in a couple of the story times. I was hopping back and forth. Weekdays, I was at school in Leroy, New York, and on the weekends I was with my mom in Buffalo, New York, well, West Seneca, New York, I had brought weed, and I had rolled a joint before she surprised me with the tickets, like about an hour before she surprised me, and I hadn't smoked it yet. And as we were getting ready to leave, I went around the corner of the house to light up the joint, not thinking anything of it, and she came up to me and was like, "What are you doing?" And I'm like, I'm smoking weed. I smoke weed. And she goes, "I don't want you to smoke that." And then after we got to talking for a little while, she said, "Fine. If you smoke that, you have to give me a couple hits." And I was hesitant at first because my mom has a plastic heart valve, and like a lot of people when they smoke weed, they get chill, but for me, I get like rapid heartbeat and paranoia, so I didn't want to let her hit it because I was afraid that was gonna happen to her, but it didn't. It still happened to me, but it is what it is. So I sparked this joint, took about 3 puffs off of it, and then I passed it to my mom. She took 1 puff. Excuse me. She took 1 puff off the joint, started hysterically coughing, and I was kind of concerned for about a couple seconds, and then she stopped coughing, and she said, "Wow, I am high as fuck." She didn't say fuck, but I can't remember what she said. It was in 2017. This was almost 7 years ago. But she said something along those lines, like that it was good stuff, good shit. And then I took a couple, maybe 3-4 more hits, and I let her take the last drag, and we got in the car, and I remember we must have both been spacing out. We must have both been blazed as fuck, because we looked at each other and just laughed. And now, granted, my mom is 75. She was about 70, maybe even 68 at this time, and I was like 16 or 17, maybe even 15. I don't feel like doing the math right now. I was more probably 16 years old.
But yeah, it was fun. We actually got to the stadium. I was like, having a lot of paranoia because I was stoned as fuck. But we made it in the stadium. We sat down. We had a blast. I actually got "Sweet Child of Mine" and I think another song on video. If you, like I said, if you scroll down on my channel, you can see it. But yeah, the funniest was to me was she was driving and we just looked at each other and we just laughed. There was nothing to say really. It was just hilarious. We were both stoned as shit, and I had never been stoned with my mom, and that was actually the one and only time I smoked weed with my mom, because my mom she's old and she's like, kind of straight edge, but she will like smoke weed here and there because I've gone into her drawers. I hate to admit this, I did steal my mom's weed one time. One time I found like a decent stash of it while she was away like for a week, and I smoked all of it. It was during the summer. Oh, I forgot to mention, during the summer I would stay with my mom full time because there was no school. Yeah, I smoked all her weed, and then another time I found weed as well. So I know she smoked here and there, but yeah, that was the one and only time that I smoked weed with my beloved mother, who is now very sick. So I just wanted to tell that story. It's kind of for my own own memories. But yeah, peace and love, and the next stories are coming up. All right, what's going on, guys? So this is gonna be like, I guess, a story time, but also like just a report. I have other videos that I made, kind of making a report for my trip that's gonna go on Instagram. But my dad isn't here right now, so I'm gonna just kind of tell you guys how it went. And the reason why I'm doing this is because I've done story times about my heroic doses before, and this was yet another heroic dose. But this was it was the best one, but it was the most intense mushroom trip I have ever had. So I ate them. It was Thursday night, January 11th, 2024. And I had gotten them on the 9th, Tuesday, or something like that. I think it was Tuesday or Monday, but it's probably Tuesday. I picked up one of my friends, and we drove around, and I actually showed him. I had him hidden, like, in the trunk of the car. There's, like, some siding on the side of the trunk that you can peel back, and that's where I had him hidden. I showed him, and it was me, him, and one of his friends. He introduced me to a new friend, so now I have another friend. But he's, the other friend, this dude's friend, said those are penis envy mushrooms when he looked at them, because they were penis envy. Now I underestimated penis envy. I should have eaten like one mushroom and then eaten the other one later, because I ate both of them. And at first, like, it always happens. This is the first thing that always happens for me. I start getting like my nervous system goes nuts. I get like tingly, like it's almost like I'm being tickled, and like it's almost unbearable. But then that calms down, and then shit starts moving. But like, it got to a point where, like, when I would stand, because I drank a lot of water that night, when I would stand up to use the bathroom, I was walking in a way that I would never walk. Like it was like weird, bro. Like, that's how hard I was tripping. And eventually, after about an hour of the trip, I actually managed to last about an hour and a half before and like, when I threw up, I was already peaking before I even threw up. But I projectile vomited again, and I cleaned it up before my dad woke up, but he told me he heard it. I just told him. I was like, you know what's funny? My dad has no idea I tripped, and this will come in later, because like at some points I was tripping so hard I couldn't even control myself anymore. I started like singing and shit. I was like singing. The funniest part to me, I did this, and I quote, Pittsburgh Steelers. I was like mocking the Pittsburgh Steelers, and what's funny about that is the Bills ended up beating the Steelers, but I was going like Pittsburgh Steelers, like that, like just like that. I was tripping so hard. I was laughing, singing, bro. It was crazy. Like I mentioned in one of the trip reports, and I'm not gonna upload this video or the story times that I made a couple days ago until the guardianship and all this stuff clears up. But at one point I had like, everybody's been to a restaurant where they've seen those placards on the walls to the bathrooms, and it's like the white stick figures.
I had white stick figures like hovering all around me, like in a circle, and they were like above me. Like this trip was intense, and I was seeing colors. It was like out of this world visuals, and that's what the guy at the store said. I'm not gonna say which store, but it's a store about a half-hour drive from my house, and this is the same store that I've gotten all my heroic dose trips mushrooms from. And the dude behind the counter, he just laughed. He was Native American. He looked at me and smiled and laughed. He said, "Dude, you're gonna be seeing some shit." And I believed him, but I underestimated him because I should not have eaten all those. But I'm still okay. And honestly, I learned from that. Like I'm only if I will take mushrooms in the future, but it's gonna be like 1, maybe 2 grams at the most, not 4. I can't be doing these heroic doses anymore because they are starting to fuck with me a little bit. But dude, it was crazy. Um, but it was a good trip. I mean, at some points, just like in all my other trips, I thought the police were outside. I thought like I was about to get arrested. Like I thought Linda was outside. It was bad at some points. Like I thought like me taking those cameras was gonna like have the cops come here. Like it's just irrational thoughts. But I'm gonna end this in 5 minutes. But yeah, that's my trip report / story time on my mushroom trip about a week ago. And this recording is going up in probably like 3 4 months. So this will have been like 4 months before this recording, but or before the post date. But yeah, thank you, peace and love. I'm gonna power director crop these together, but I forgot to add some parts. Just like every other trip I've had, heroic dose wise, the phone goes away, bro. Like I don't use my phone. Like I tried to put on even like something as nice as Pink Floyd. It was Pink Floyd's Dark Side of the Moon. I got like 2 minutes into the first song, like 2 minutes into the album, and I had to shut it off. It was so bad. I was tripping so hard, like the things he was saying. I thought he was talking to me, which is that happened 50 years ago. I wasn't. My dad wasn't even alive. My dad was 2 years, had 2 years to be born when Dark Side of the Moon was released, or maybe 4 years. I forgot if it was released in 71 or 73. But my dad was born in 75. So my grandpa, dude, like I wasn't even a thought, and I still thought he was talking to me. That's how intense shrooms are. I don't suggest anybody takes mushrooms, and if you do, like microdose. Also, it was so like in the beginning I kept telling myself there's no such thing as a bad trip because I was starting to trip and I was like there's no such thing as a bad trip because in the beginning I was having a fantastic time because it was just starting to creep in, you know. But then like I said in the previous video, it got so out of control. I had no control over my mind basically. Like the mushrooms had control. And like I saw God, like not God, but like a ball of light, and like I had thoughts that like life was endless, and it could be. I think life could be endless. I think like all that crazy shit I said in the past might not be true, bro. Like I think that life might be endless, and like there is an afterlife, because that shit was fucking, and that could just be the shrooms talking. I don't know, but this video at 3 minutes, but and finally, I took him. I forgot to mention. I took him at like 11:50 on Thursday night, so I was tripping technically Friday morning. Uh, and I just when I was coming down, I started coming down around like 4 o'clock, and I finally mustered up the courage to walk outside and have a cigarette. And like I was still kind of tripping, so I put the Pantera video on, like the This Love breakdown. Oh my god, dude, it was so powerful, and like everything, like my phone, and I know this wasn't the mushrooms. My phone was moving like faster than it normally would. Like the audio was still the same. I remember the audio being the same, but like, dude, the picture and the video was moving quicker, but like somehow the audio and the picture were still synced. It was so weird, bro. And that actually could have been the shrooms, but eventually everything got back to normal, and I mean, I was hearing voices. I don't hear voices when I'm sober. I'm not a schizophrenic, but I was when I was tripping, hearing voices and sounds, and like everything was like reverb, like it was like echoey and shit. Oh, it was so intense, bro. I will never take more than 2 grams again in one sitting. All right, bye. All right, what is going on, guys? It is Story Times of Crimes here. Or Shane Dryer. So I know, and actually, this story also won't be getting released till the guardianship / power of attorney is over, or my mom, has her rights back and everything is good again. This probably might be like 3 months. It could possibly even be a year. But I have one story time that I'm releasing. It's just one story, and then I have these 3 stories I'm telling today. I called a friend of mine, and we got to talking, let's just say, and uh, uh, while talking to him, we were just exchanging stories, and it actually reminded me of some of these stories. Now, the first story had nothing to do with him. It had everything to do with me, and that's kind of the reason why I'm not gonna show my face in this video, just in case this gets used against me. Which it probably won't, because my channel isn't popular, for one. For two, Linda won't have any power or control over me by the time it's released. And three, there's just probably no way it can be used against me. But just in case it can, it's only my my audio and a view of the ceiling in the building I'm currently in, which you don't need to know about that either. But the first story is about the dark web and my experiences on the dark web. Um, Back in, I believe it was 2018. It was still back when I was at my aunt's house. It was before COVID. I remember that it was like a year or two before COVID, so it was probably like 2018, maybe the beginning of 2019. I'm not gonna say what I was going on the dark web for. It wasn't for any of the sus reasons, It wasn't CP or like SA or anything like that. It wasn't anything bad, but it was for legal purposes still. But it was just for my own benefit. It wasn't anything like disgusting. But unfortunately, in my endeavors in the dark web, I did encounter some things that I did not intend to see, but ended up seeing anyways. And I just want to say, I'm not going to give any hints as to how you can get in the dark web, but you can find out for yourself if you have the right connects. But I myself will never go back on the dark web again. I only went on the dark web for probably about a week period, and I did it on my cell phone, dude. That's how fucking smart I was, and still kind of am. But yeah, and I mean, again, it wasn't my smarts. I mean, I had people in my high school who gave me some tips and some programs, let's just say, that would get me in. But yeah, it was they call it the dark web for a reason. I mean, it's fucked up, the shit you see on the dark web. But I bought some things on there. I'll give you a little bit hints, but yeah, I bought some things on there. Um, that were for my own personal consumption, so you can guess what it was. But like, I was on the portion of the dark web where, like, you have to click on links and keep hopping to link to get to where you want to go, and it's a pain in the ass, but it was worth it in the end. But I'm not gonna say what I saw, but I saw some fucked up shit, dude. Like, it's bad, bro. I can reassure you to never go on the dark web. Okay, so at 3 minutes and 30 seconds, I start the next story. The next story is, I'm just going to call this the casino story. So this was back in the time when I was sneaking out of my aunt's house. This is before I used the ladders or anything, and before COVID, so I was sneaking out, but it was not as bad. So I hit up my drug dealer. I had bought weed from this drug dealer like probably 3-4 times prior to this event, and I was like, yo, you got a 50 bag for me, because I bought 5 grams for $50. And by the end of the story, you're going to look at me like an idiot, but I got in this dude's car, to just pass off the weed, and he suggested that we go to the Batavia Downs. Batavia, New York. It's a casino where they race horses and shit. And you can bet on them. But we went to the casino at night. There was no horse racing. They just got like the slots and shit. But we smoked a ton of weed beforehand. We went in. They got in. My ID wasn't valid at the time. It was expired, so I wasn't able to get in. So I had to go sit in the car in the middle of winter. Which they gave me the keys. And they trusted me. Thank God. I turned the keys on and warmed myself up. I just smoked some weed in the car. The weed I had bought. I wouldn't smoke a lot of it. And then it came time to drop me off. Now, down the street from my aunt's house, it's funny because my aunt lives in like the rural area of Leroy. Like, it's like Leroy is a small town, and then the rest of the outskirts of the town are all fucking like farms and shit. But, but like literally like a 5-minute walk down the street from my aunt's house was a random Ace Hardware. And I would always have like drug dealers and people who picked me up and friends or anything that would go down. I would have them pick me up or drop me off at Ace Hardware because my aunt couldn't see me getting dropped off and see the headlights in the driveway. And I got to Ace Hardware. They dropped me off, and I walked back to my aunt's house. Now I got to the front porch, and right as I was opening the door, I didn't realize the dogs were sleeping, because usually what's funny is the dogs would sleep in my aunt's room, but I think she had discovered that I went out and just left them out in like the kitchen and in the dining room and the living room area, because the front door of the house walks right into the living room, and as I was opening the door, the dogs exploded. Like they just started barking, bro. And I got nervous and started panicking, and I dropped the bag of weed, and I was so like nervous, and I'd already opened the door and it had made a ton of noise. I just wanted to shut it and get upstairs. I told myself I'd go back for the weed later. Now, what I didn't realize, or what I did realize but didn't take into account because I was so like shocked by the dogs barking, that it was a windy day that night. So the weed, there's three things that happened. Either the wind blew the weed away, or my cousin or aunt discovered it in the morning, because when I woke up, I went downstairs immediately to check. The weed wasn't on the porch, but I found the baggie in the front yard and it was completely empty. So either somebody found it that wasn't related to any of us, just a random person, and took it, which I doubted because it was pitch black outside and it was in the middle of the lawn, or what most likely happened was it just blew away in the wind. But I lost all that weed, and I feel like such a fool for telling this story. And then the last story, I've told a couple stories about my experiences on the BOCES bus, when I got suspended in my senior year. But one of the craziest experiences to me, besides, the dab carts and like the times we hotboxed the bus and didn't get caught, my friend Jay, I mentioned Jay. His name is Jeremy in all the stories. I've already told his name, so I don't have to use letters. But his name's Jeremy, and actually, I just recently, like in the past 6 months, fall off with him. He just has been acting weird lately, so I I don't know. He's probably still subscribed to my channel, and I love you, Jeremy. If you hear this, hit me up, bro. I didn't mean to call you weird. It's just you've been acting a little distant is all. That's all I want to say. But anyways, and this has all been said and done, and there's definitely like not a statute of limitations on this, and if there is, it's over by now, because this was like back in 2020. This is like almost 4 years ago. Maybe even, yeah, it was about 4 years ago. Yeah, because it was 2019 into 2020 that my senior year took place. But anyways, my friend Jeremy gets on the bus because he got suspended. We all. It's funny because when me and my best friend got suspended, my best friend Keith, he goes by the alias Keith. When we all got suspended, like half of our friend group got suspended with us. Like not because of the same event, but just because they said fuck it and started fucking up as well. It was kind of crazy, but he says, "Yo, I got some powder," and I knew immediately what he was talking about. He literally opens, and like it's not dip, but it's like those white pouches, like it's the nicotine pouches. So when you empty out the container, there's no like dip residue. It's just like empty and clear and okay. Well, he literally opened it. It was a white pouch nicotine container, and it was full of cocaine. And this dude takes a fucking takes the container, puts it up to his nose, and just starts snorting it. He probably snorted like three they're not really lines because it wasn't like lines. It was just like right out of the container. But he snorted probably a gram of cocaine, and this dude was bugging, bro. I'm gonna end the story at 10 minutes, by the way, but this dude was fucking bugging, bro. But it was so funny. He never got caught. Obviously, none of us got brought to the office, so yeah, nobody got caught with that. But dude, he fucking snorted coke on the bus. So I know I say this all the time. I may have a couple more stories, maybe even 3 more in the next year or two, but that's how long it takes me to come up with these, because I have to remember them. And like it took me 2 months to remember all these stories. 2 months I had to put these all together, and I sent them in a group chat so I could remember them. I screenshotted them. Dude, that's crazy. I actually had like 3 more stories I could tell, and actually 4, because there's another video I'm gonna be uploading when I'm able to upload these videos. But yeah, subscribe if you're new. Turn the bell on. Comment, like. You know the drill. I'm 199 subscribers. I'm 1 sub away from 200. And I'm going to screenshot my YouTube channel when it gets to 200. So thank you for all that. Peace and love, man. All right, so drink some water. So this, I'll probably put this one at the beginning, even though it's not that fascinating, but it's still pretty cool. But it's gonna be this is gonna be a 6-in-1 story time. I don't know exactly how I'm gonna order the stories, like in order, but I know the one video where I put 3 of the stories in one video will go at the end, And then the other 3 separate videos, which are 3 separate story times, will be somewhere in between, but this one will be at the beginning. So that'll be a total of 6 story times. So it's the 6 in 1. But this is going to be a quick little story before my dad gets home. So this is the story, and this is going to be funny as fuck. I literally, and when I mentioned this, what the story time is, you're going to think I'm full of shit. But this actually happened. I have no proof of it. Because obviously, when something like this happens, you're usually not recording. But I still was on my phone, and that plays in later. But basically, I literally walked into a deer. Like walked into a deer. So my mom has 2 houses in New York, one in Florida. And one of the houses in New York she renovated and planned on living in. But my mom, as you'll find later in the video, is in the ICU. And she's stable, but she hasn't gotten any better. I'm praying for her. But I really, really hope that she can pull through this. This Monday, so like tomorrow actually, at 3:30, I'm going to a hearing because Linda Kite, the one I mentioned in a lot of previous videos, is taking me to court. Now, this video might not go up for another year after this, as I mentioned in the other videos, but, you know, I can't wait till it goes up, because after about a year, not only will Linda not have her power, most likely, but she will be charged criminally as well, and I can post videos again. And my mom probably won't be alive by then, but, you know, I can't do anything about it. Yeah, with this hearing, yeah, Linda most likely is not going to win because she submitted my medical records, which is a HIPAA violation, and both of her key witnesses are getting calls from my lawyer, and I know one of them at least has turned against Linda, and is now, you know, basically like a mole, like a spy for me and my dad, to get Linda, you know, fucked over, basically, because Linda's a piece of shit who does not deserve any of my mom's money and is acting like it's hers, and she's entitled to it, which she's not. She's not even part of our family. But anyways, it's not looking like Linda's going to win. But regardless, back to the story. I was at my mom's house that was being renovated. And at the time, it was still under construction. And me and my mom and my dad were there working on it. And I decided to take a quick walk because, like, this house is right down the street from my mom's other house that she lives in full time and is fully complete. And where this house is that I'm talking about now, the one that was being renovated, is right next to, I forgot the name of the creek, but there's a creek next to it. And right next to my mom's yard is a trail that goes through the woods. And I started walking down the trail. Now, me being a teenager, you know, I had my face in my phone. I'm still doing the same thing. I still play on my phone all day. But I do have a job interview at a place that pays $30 an hour this week. So fingers crossed. And I will let you guys know if Linda loses and if I get the job in a separate video, which I won't post either until everything's said and done. But I was walking down the trail facing the phone, and I bumped into somebody, or what I thought was somebody. And I was like, oh my God, sorry, you know, as a reaction. And I look up and it's a fucking deer just standing there. Now, I'm actually kind of fortunate because, I mean, usually if a deer is standing still and a human walks up to it and it doesn't move away at all out in the wild, that's a cause for concern. That could be rabies, that could be anything, and it could attack you. Even though a deer isn't really that dangerous and it didn't have any antlers, it was a female deer. But I literally I bumped into a deer. And then I just like stood there for about 5 seconds and like kind of was like, shoo, shoo. You know, like, go, go, go. Trying to get the deer to move. It wouldn't move. So I just kind of turned around and started running the other way. And the deer just kept standing there. But eventually I got away from it. But I just found that so crazy that I like literally walked into a fucking deer. And I told my mom, I told my dad, and neither one of them believed me. Of course, I don't think anybody in here is going to believe me, but it happened. And this was in West Seneca, New York. But I'm sorry I rambled so much in the beginning, but I just wanted to give you guys some key updates. And actually, with the court date, I'm going to end this video at 6 minutes. With the court date, it's in Florida, and my lawyer managed to set it up where I can do it on a Zoom call. So I don't have to see Linda face to face, thank God. And he said there's a chance I may have to be cross-examined, which is where like Linda's lawyer is going to ask me questions, but he said it's very unlikely because of the evidence against Linda. They're probably going to just like dismiss that. And more likely than not, Linda will not win. And if Linda wins, I will tell you, she will take all my mom's money and she will kill my mom and live off the money, and that's going to be the end of that story, which is unfortunate, but it probably won't happen. Like there's probably a 90% chance that I'm going to win. So yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed that story, and the rest of the stories are coming very shortly. In 3, 2, 1, boom.